Okay, everyone. Let us begin what I'm pretty sure, unless I'm going to be much mistaken corrected in this game, this is actually the last case, a half moon walk. So yeah, let's begin the final case for Sherlock Holmes of this game.
Where are you going, Holmes? Have you been invited somewhere?
We have been invited, Watson,
We have. Where to?
to the Baker Street Irregulars' annual dinner. They sent us an invitation. It is on the table.
A dinner? How could those street urchins afford anything like that? I can't understand your interest in them, Holmes. They're dirty. They wouldn't hesitate to steal your wallet.
Watson, you should be excited. It is a secret dinner. Its location changes every year. Read the menu. Sounds mouth-watering.
Oh God.
All right. We, the secret police of Baker Street, invite you, Sherlock Holmes, and Dr. Watson to our annual dinner. Menu, entree, frozen rat head salad. Is this a joke?
Not at all. Pray continue.
Oh God.
Main course, sow's udder in Danny Nutcracker's way. Oh, sounds disgusting, Holmes. Hedgehog goulash. Street turnips in homemade juice. And it goes on.
Ah, I can hear them on the stairs now.
Oh, we can't go there. We can't eat that.
Watson, you'll hurt the feelings of those poor children. We have to go.
Oh, Mr. Holmes.
It is fine, Mrs. Hudson.
Mr. Holmes!
Wiggins, Dr. Watson is getting ready. He will be delighted to join us. You don't look well, my young man. Is there something wrong? Don't tell me the dinner is cancelled.
Mr. Holmes is my brother Leighton. He's in a prison cell. They say he's killed 2 men. You have to help us, Mr. Holmes, because I know he didn't do it.
Where is he now?
From what I've heard, they took him to the yard, and they gave him a good beating already.
Jeez.
You know what they're like. They'll hang him. They won't look any further.
Holmes, we have to help him.
Well, and forget about the dinner. Wiggins, I'll take the case.
You're fantastic, Mr. Holmes. I'll be waiting for you at the crime scene. You'll be there, right? It's on Half Moon Street in Whitechapel.
Very well.
Okay. Any letters? Yep. Dearest Holmes, I write to express my appreciation for your striking at the truth of this horrible case. At first, Albert Dunn's confession. At first, I could not imagine how Miss Margaret White, such an exceptional and beautiful woman, could plan and commit such a dreadful murder with that fellow Hamish. How angry I was! But when I attempted to put myself in her shoes, I began to understand. As talented and beautiful a lady as Miss White was, she evidently could not complete her studies without money, while my father was lying in high life, deficient in human sympathy. Deficient in human sympathy. Thank you for your kindness towards her. She is no longer here, and already I miss her. Yeah, sorry, Albert. I still play the stupid mechanics, but look, if anything, it's just proof that, hey, we all screw things up in games, even if the game wants us to. It's anyway. Put the sour taste in my mouth on that one. Okay, I think we'll go to the crime scene and then we'll gather some evidence, and then so we can get Leighton off the accusation list when we got some evidence and a bit more of a deduction on our side. So the Half Moon Street. There's no point us going to the yard trying to talk to Leighton. We don't even know what's going on at the scene, is there? Defeats the entire point, really. It could, but... which... Let's see if we can go this way. Oh, right, okay, that, right.
Please, gentlemen, leave the scene now. Oh, Mr. Holmes, is that you?
Yeah, of course
Good
it is.
evening, Constable...
Constable Marrow. I was here with Inspector Aberline during the Ripper case, Mr. Holmes, back in '88. But then this is nothing like that case. With this one, we've got the murderer, the weapon, and the statements, which speak for themselves.
Of course, Marrow. But you know that appearances can sometimes be deceiving.
Absolutely.
Who were the victims?
The two men here, both shot. The stat fellow was Brian Vercotti, a well-known ruffian. The other, Kenneth Butler, a jeweller by trade.
Right, okay. Good place, good start as any.
You spoke of statements. You have witnesses?
Well, I was there, so I gave my own statement. And then there were two other witnesses who said they saw the killer Chapman. Mr. Turner, a gentleman who lives in that flat over there. And Polly Powell, a flower seller, who was over at the far side of the street.
Alright.
So, Constable Marrow, I should be delighted to hear your testimony.
I was standing at the north side of Half Moon Street. That was the side that you came from.
But you would have been unable to observe this part of the street, where we are standing now.
True enough.
That is correct. But I saw the two victims slowly enter Half Moon Street, and then shortly after, the fireworks started. A few minutes after that, the fellow Chapman rushed towards me and ran into Half Moon Street.
Please continue.
I didn't pay attention, but suddenly I heard a woman's cries and police whistles on the other side of Half Moon Street. I rushed over there and I saw the two dead bodies on the ground. When I reached Whitechapel Street, I saw Leighton Chapman. He'd been caught by two police constables.
Okay. Let's go with this one first.
Constable Marrow, what else caught your attention while you were running through Half Moon Street?
I saw nothing but rats, and I took the time to light every corner with my lamp.
Alright. Well, good start, I suppose.
What were the fireworks in honor of, Constable?
Well, today's Queen Victoria's birthday, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, I appear to have lost track of the days. It is May now, of course.
Unlike a Sherlock, isn't it?
Did you hear the shots?
I didn't hear any shots. The fireworks were all over the sky. They were so loud I couldn't hear anything else.
I can believe that, actually.
Did you happen to look up at Mr. Turner's window when you were on Half Moon Street at that time?
Yes, I saw that the window was open, but no one was there. It was dark in the room.
Constable, your statements have been of great value to me.
Okay. Well, I guess start with the bodies first.
Brian Vercotti suffered greatly. What a terrible way to die.
Oh, got a tattoo.
A tattoo from Westgate Prison. Vercotti must have done some time there.
Alright.
He tried to stop the bleeding with his hand. Death was not instant.
Alright.
The bullet penetrated his stomach, a dreadful wound.
Quite messy, it would appear. Okay, Kenneth.
A piece of wood that has stuck between the cobblestones. Let us take a closer look.
Certainly should.
This shard of wood is quite new.
Seems death was instantaneous.
The bullet struck his head. This man didn't stand a chance.
Certainly didn't. Ooh. Key. Okay.
This is an ordinary key. I wonder what kind of door it opens.
Alright. Okay, there was...
A fairly long pole with a forked end.
I thought we might have tried a bit of wood on that, but obviously not yet. Okay, let's make sure we back this thing on. So let's go through this. Okay. Going through the impressions with that focus. Excuse me. Talk to Wiggins in a minute. Just go through. Make sure we go through the side, the walls here. You never know what you're gonna find. Okay. Brown, no, that seems obvious in that regard. Okay. Talk to this gentleman first, then we'll talk to Wiggins. Brian Turner, okay.
Good evening, Mr. Turner.
I heard Constable Varro reply to you as Mr. Holmes. Are you that detective gentleman?
He is?
I've heard of you. And well, I know things.
Oh, yeah?
Things about this evening.
Excellent. Might we hear your story?
Yes, that would be very intriguing indeed. Does quite the reputation? Well, he's owned, so quite the reputation now. Is there anything here that would... Crimean War, okay. I would never have guessed the Crimean War, to be honest. I don't know much about it, to be honest, though, so that's probably why. See, button. Okay. Alright, it's not gonna get anywhere very quickly, is he?
Could you tell us everything that you may have seen or heard?
I was already in bed when the fireworks started. A few moments after, I clearly heard 2 gunshots from outside.
Please continue.
I quickly got up and I grabbed the lamp from my nightstand and I rushed towards the window. I looked down and I saw 2 bodies. And there was a man with a gun who was standing nearby.
Where exactly?
Well, near this body.
Did he notice you?
I don't think so. He rushed towards Whitechapel Street without looking around.
Alright. So, just to clarify on that one?
Were the 2 shots you heard consecutive?
Yes, there was a very short pause between them, and they sounded different somehow. It seemed to me that the second shot was louder than the first.
Really?
That is an interesting comment.
Yeah, it is. That would either indicate, excuse me, that if you got something, if the one of the shots was louder, it's either because there's a louder echo, or because there's a shorter. Let me try and rephrase that word that better. So apart from the echo, the only other way I can think of is that the distance between the actual shot being fired and the person hearing the shot is closer than the previous one, if that makes any sense. So that's the two things that come to mind. But of course, there's usually other things that I'm completely forgetting, as always.
Mr. Turner, did you see anyone else in the street?
No, I saw no one but that man, the murderer, the fellow they caught.
Alright.
Mr. Turner, what were your actions after you stepped up to the window?
I was afraid that the man with a gun might return, so I stayed close to the window till I saw the policeman coming in the Half Moon from Whitechapel. Then I walked out to tell them everything I saw.
You have helped us a great deal, Mr. Turner.
Okay. Different shots, Turner's view. Okay, so is that two victims? The hell? What? What a bit different shot. Would that correlate to him? The hell? Oh. I'm surprised to be those two options, but fine. Okay. Alright. Conflicting statements. Mr. Turner said they remained at the window of his flat until the police arrived. However, this is in conflict with Maro's statement as the constable did not see anyone at the window. Oh! That's a point. Right. Well, unless it was so dark and then there was so much noise that Maro didn't see, didn't get a clear picture. Considering this, although it would have taken him a bit of time to get to the window, and everything happens in a blur when you're going through those sorts of things. So, let's see.
Mr. Holmes, did you see my brother at Scotland Yard? Is he all right?
All right. Well, you have to get sort later now, but. Get some evidence first. Focused impressions. Ollie?
Mrs. Howell?
What do you want?
My name is Sherlock Holmes. I'm assisting the police with their investigation of the crime that took place this evening.
Well, I've already gave my testimony, but very well.
Yeah, well, they're the cops, and Sherlock's the brilliant detective who can sort all this calamity out. So, please cooperate.
Could you tell us everything that you may have seen or heard?
Yes. I was selling my flowers as usual, and then the fireworks began in honour of Queen Victoria. I enjoyed those. But then, all of a sudden, a young lad ran out of Half Moon Street and stopped just by me. He had a gun in his hand. He was like a ghost and all covered in blood. It was dark, but I could see him because of the flashes from the fireworks.
And then?
I screamed as loud as I could. I knew that a policeman should be on duty in the vicinity. He had no time to escape. 2 constables got him. Then another constable came out from the very same street, and I heard him talking of a horrible murder.
Okay. So you instinctually think that because you see someone running out covered in blood, that they're a murderer. Oh boy. And don't get me wrong when I say it. Don't get me wrong when the way I'm saying this. It probably sounds a bit contradicting to general opinion, but just because someone's covered in blood does not necessarily. Let's face it. When they say covered in blood, that's more of a general term that could mean they don't. There are times when you see someone's covered in blood when there's all like the covered, but it's actually referring to the hands or the shirt or the pants, but they just say they're covered in blood when it's not actually the whole body, if you know what I mean. So it's just a general general statement, as it were. And it's just amazing how, you know, you can, especially if you're gonna do CPR on someone, for example, and they're bleeding because they've been in an accident. But if you ran somewhere and someone used that exact same type of statement, it would put them in the wrong, wouldn't it? I just find it amazing how their terms used in such a way that it's the assumption that goes with it. When there are times when literally you're trying to help someone who's bleeding, give CPR or something like that, trying to help them, and you end up getting covered in blood, and then you run away because you're trying to get help, or this happened more in the old days. It sometimes happens nowadays as well, but more in the old days that they had, you know, those things, and the idea of running out of fear because, I don't know, something's happened, it's been a big fight and, you know, whatever. But, and suddenly there's big assumptions, like, and fingers get pointed at people because of it. And it's, yeah, it's just a concept that I find kind of interesting, because I mean, in the sense that it's sad the way that it's referred to and implicated in that manner. So, bit too often. And sometimes people are genuinely just trying to help someone, or just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and the implications go that way, and it's quite sad. Not to say it happened all the time, but there were definitely occasions, and I'm just saying it's, yeah. I always find a little bit ironic in the way that she's saying it. I mean, I understand why she's saying it that way, because you won't know better if you're a witness. You just see what you see, and the assumption comes to you. That's all I'm saying.
Mrs. Powell, did you hear the gunshots?
I'm not sure. You know, what with the fireworks?
Well, I assume they'd be bloody loud if that's the case. Hell, the constable didn't hear anything, or half the time didn't notice anything, so there you go.
Did you see anyone else leaving Half Moon Street, prior to or at the time of the crime?
No, sir, I did not. Even with all the fireworks, I was very attentive, as I'm always on the lookout for customers.
My thanks to you, Mrs. Powell.
Alright. Okay. Alright, now that we've got this, I think it's time we went down to the station and spoke to Leighton. Ready? We could talk to him again, unless we could talk to Leighton. You know what? Let's go and talk to Leighton first. Because in case he brings any extra details we could use to back our side of the statement up. You know, even if it's a contradiction, you need to back up with a bit of proof, so...
Mr. Holmes, whatever brings you here so late at night?
I'm interested in the case of young Leighton Chapman. He was arrested earlier this evening and accused of a double murder.
I beg your pardon? That case is quite clear to the police.
Really?
Or are there any new facts that we don't know about?
How about contradiction statements?
Who knows, Inspector?
Look, you are free to investigate, of course, Mr. Holmes. Chapman was arrested with a revolver in his possession, which you can find in the evidence room. The suspect himself is in custody.
Did you find anything else on his person?
A few personal belongings. Nothing particular, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, Lestrade.
You know, it's kind of I find it ironic in that sense that as much this is like it's like the blood incident with guns and everything, and I'm not going to go into that sort of discussion about with modern everything else, but in the sense that in that regard, the same assumption goes. I'm not saying that that. I'm just saying there are times when sometimes people just, you know, if it's, I don't know if you've ever seen the movies and all that, the programs where, you know, it's where things are implicated on people intentionally, like, you know, someone's cleaned the gun, you see in the movies, someone's cleaned the firearm and just put it in someone's hand, and actually, you know, it's like, implicating this person is guilty of this crime. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of going with that sort of assumption that just because they have it doesn't mean that they're actually guilty of anything, apart from, oh, I had this and I'm fearful for my life, so I'm just get the hell out of here. But doesn't actually mean I've done anything wrong besides holding a deadly weapon. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's one of those, I know it's not exactly the same, but it's sort of a similar kind of coincidence that, you know, I'm just saying it from a bit of irony in the history. There have been times like that when there's been a case where people have been implicated because they have stuff, not necessarily those sorts of deadly weapons, but it would be knives or stuff like something that's actually quite deadly, and they're implicated because they have possession. But for whatever reason, they're actually done nothing wrong at all, because it's either been put in their possession without their knowing, or they've just found it and they're going to hand it in, or, you know, they're so, because of human curiosity gets the better of them, and it's just like, it ends up getting them in trouble for it. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
So this is the gun that Leighton was holding when he was caught by the police. It is a Webley revolver, a reliable weapon.
I was going to say, can we have a bit of a look at it?
It seems as though the shells were not removed from the cylinder.
Two shots are fired. Okay, so that's consistent.
2 out of the 6 shells have been fired. There were 2 shots.
That's consistent. Different shots. Yep, that's consistent. Would that be 2 victims? Just double making sure I haven't missed anything. Okay. This simultaneous fire position could hear the shots between different made. Could hear the contrast between 2 shots, as in fact 3 shots were made. Hang on. Turner could hear the contrast between 2 fired shots, as in fact 3 shots were made. At first, a single shot was fired, and then 2 gunshots fired simultaneously directly afterwards. Actually, that would make sense. If you fire 2 shots at the same time, that would make an echo that was seen louder. So that actually is, from my that's, I don't know, but from what I've heard, that is quite possible to make a second shot appear much louder. So if we were to go with that assumption, just because of investigational purposes, curious double murder and compelling evidence. Okay, that kind of takes away from that one. Two victims. Okay, just want to double check that.
These cigarettes are filled with cheap tobacco. Nothing interesting. A cheap watch, bought with his own money, no doubt.
Right. the revolver looks fairly new to me. I'm not a great judge of it, though I shouldn't say, but I can see it would appear to look fairly new.
Please escort this suspect for interrogation. Good evening, Mr. Chapman.
Who are you? I've got nothing to say. It's all a mistake.
Calm down, Leighton. I have come here to help you. To find out if you truly are innocent, as your younger brother Wiggins has told me.
My brother? You know him?
Of course he does.
Then that means you're...
Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, blimey. All right, Mr. Holmes. I'll tell you everything.
Good. First things first, though. Okay, good observation. So it might look as a black eye, but... Okay, well if he's going up on the street, can you really blame him? Not that it's right, but... Okay. It's been marked, alright.
Good. Tell me your account of what happened.
I left my work and I hurried up to see the fireworks in Whitechapel. I was late, so I decided to cut through Half Moon Street. I saw the first fireworks light up in the sky. I bumped into a constable on a corner before entering Half Moon. Then suddenly, what with all the firework flare, I saw two men. They were both lying flat in the middle of the street. I stopped where I was. I thought about turning back to the police, but as I was thinking of that, I saw a third person. He was leaning over the body that was furthest from me. The second I saw him, he raised his head and he stared at me. In a flash, I saw his gun, but he made a dash for it instead and he escaped through Whitechapel Street.
Okay. So there's a bunch of contradicting reports. If that is true, that's even more contradictory on what Turner's been telling us. There one figure or someone, and what about this other person? Unless it was too dark, which in the alleyway is actually not, for that back street is not exactly too hard to believe, but even so, you know?
So you might still have had time to return to the constable.
I panicked. I didn't know what to do. Anyway, I approached the bodies just to see if they were still alive.
Human nature?
I saw that one had blood pumping out of his stomach. He was dying. It was horrible. The second one was already dead. He had a hole in his head. He was holding a gun in his hand, though. I took it, and then I followed the third man.
Inevitably, I'm guessing, so he could give it to... So he could hand it in to the police, I would imagine, be a good citizen. Okay. I'm just saying, if that was his intention... I mean, I know it's not good to say, but sometimes you just do it so you can... It's more so kids don't pick those things up. So you try to think it's just an adult like thing. Okay, I should make sure no, not a young person gets hold of this. They can hurt themselves. I can hand it to law enforcement, and then they can take care of it and secure it. Just saying. Does happen sometimes.
Interesting. Pray, continue.
I turned a corner, and I saw the man standing in the middle of the street. He seemed to be in some sort of panic. And then, Mr. Holmes, something strange happened. I told the police and they laughed at what I said, but I swear to you, my words are true.
Go on.
I started running towards him. But then I was blinded by a flash. It was so bright that I hardly saw anything for a good dozen seconds. But I kept running forward. As I arrived in Whitechapel, I heard a woman screaming. And then I was caught by the police. But there wasn't a trace of that man. Of course, then they found a gun and all that blood. I couldn't see the murderer escaping and all that mess. Perhaps I was still half-blinded at that moment.
A thrilling account, my young man.
It's almost like I was saying, implicated because you got blood on you. I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm saying from like I'm trying to be just think about, well, if he hasn't done anything, then he's just being implicated because he's got a murder weapon and because he's got blood on him. Because there's no one else at the scene, and they see him, they immediately assume he's the culprit. Oh, God. But for 95+% of the time nowadays, I'm so glad that's not actually the case. That they don't make the drastic assumptions they used to. I think it does occasionally still happen, but it's insanely rare. Thank God. Oh dear.
Leighton, are you able to describe the person whom you saw standing in Half Moon Street?
Well, I wasn't able to see his face at all. It was too dark, and he was too far away. I could see his silhouette.
Oh yeah?
And what about that?
Nothing so special. He was wearing a jacket. He was quite average in size and his weight.
I see. Was there anything else that struck you at the time?
No. But perhaps... It's strange, but I can't remember the sound of his footsteps as he was running away. Perhaps it was because of the fireworks or the surprise of me seeing him.
I want to check something when we get back there, because it will confirm. I've got a bit of a suspicion. I have to make before I make any comments on it. I want to double check what the ground is in Baker Street. Half Baker Street, yeah.
Leighton, I confess I am puzzled. Why should a young lad like you take a gun from the hands of a dead man and set off in pursuit of a probable killer?
I know. I keep wondering that, but at the time it was like a reflex. A criminal ought to be arrested, and he was armed.
You were willing to risk your life. That was a little foolish, unless you wanted revenge.
Oh, that's true.
No, Mr. Holmes. I was just being brave and stupid.
Ooh, okay. Ooh, a few options. Oh God. You know what? There's a few games, but let's I think we'll try a little bit of the statement contradiction stuff. I'm going with Turner's contradiction. Let's just see what he has to say. I'm curious. Right?
No, Mr. Holmes. I was just being brave and stupid.
Okay. Well, I suppose they both had it, so you know what, let's go. They both had the markings of the prisons, so hopefully. Oh.
I'm sure that you were, but I believe that you may have recognized one of the victims, Brian Vercotti. You knew that gentleman well, did you not?
However could you know that?
Tattoos?
You have a typical tattoo of the Westgate Brotherhood upon your hand. I observed exactly the same mark upon Mr. Vercotti. You came to know him from your sharing a past prison sentence. Am I correct, Mr. Chapman?
Oh, God. You're right, Mr. Holmes.
Would you tell me a little about Brian Vercotti?
We were convicted for a robbery. Once in prison, both of us joined one of these fraternities.
Oh, okay.
During that year, we tried to help each other out, you know?
You were quite young then, I believe.
Yes, Mr. Holmes, we were. We'd only stolen a pound of meat. After we were released and when I saw what my little brother had become, I decided to work towards living an honest life.
And Vercotti?
He had a hard time. His sister had died in a Whitechapel dispensary while he was in prison. He had no family anymore. Our paths split. He fell back into crime.
So you lost him?
Yes. And for around 2 years, I heard no news of him at all.
Okay.
We shall see you soon, young man.
Actually, when he says that whole thing because he doesn't have any family, he falls back into crime, that's been known to happen. So That's very believable, as far as I'm concerned. Let's go old acquaintance. Really? The hell? Lootless. Okay. I don't see the obvious connection there. Well, it's not the most prominent connection, should I probably say. Okay, well that does make a bit of sense. About 2 victims. Alright. Imaginary man. Person who late Chapman describes his statement as a figment of his own imagination, creative indicate himself. Personal motive. I like crime committed by Half Moon Street by Chapman could have a personal motive. Yeah. It's something he said that's got me wondering, so I want to see how this works. I'm not going to cancel anything out. Curious.
Mr. Holmes, what is the trouble with that lad? Isn't he guilty of murder?
Well, there's something he's said which I'm surprised you're not paying any attention to, Lestrade. But there again, you're missing the blatantly obvious, so I guess there's that. Okay. Possible crossfire to poor reenactment. Okay. Alright, I'll tell you what, we'll end it here. I'll see you next time. We're going to be sorting out the statements, work out who's right, and continuing our investigation. See you next time.